The summer group stage is well underway, and while our teams are fighting for their survival or their success in the 2023 season, there is one team who's about to hit a milestone that the other teams can only dream of. An achievement that has been in the making for a decade. Fnatic is about to hit 10,000 kills in the LEC. Let's take a look how they got there.
As minions are going on towards it, there's going to be a catch out towards Edward. Are they going to be enough? Look at that!
Only really knocking up Sertuss there. He's going to try and get some nice three-man shockwave though.
Coming in on a woman. Oh, huge timber stun, and that is going to be Fnatic getting the turnaround. Huni, unstoppable.
We see the right of the arcane. Shots coming out. Flash boomerang blade. The third one. Power of Evil's getting run down by Rainover. Red buff is ticking. Prey Seeker seeks his prey. Knocker onto Bardax, and Rainover will get himself a quadra kill.
And Fnatic will become the first team in LCS history to do it. The perfect split.
Looking for a pentakill. We're in Sweden. The Swedish pentakill. Rainover is trying to run down Reckless. We are going to see Niels rather. We are going to see the exhaust come out. Glitterlance catches. Undertow catches. Double kill for Huni. Kill for Huni. Gets the stun. Caps flashes forward. Turns it onto Perks. First blood to Baby Faker.
Dylan, we have to go main.
No, we have to go Corki.
No.
Here comes Caps. Getting onto Alpha. With the three-man knockup. Hero's entrance comes in. Another three-man Caps. Caps! Killed and Summer!
The damage hasn't come out yet. And multi-man knockup. Fnatic have got themselves three. Johnny gets run down, stunned down.
He's going again!
For Reckless. Are you kidding me?
No way! The Nexus Tower's in the bottom side. Just get in the back door!
That's locked in! Is this Garen Yuumi ball lane?
Garen ball lane!
Has to flash out to safety. If they can be able to turn this final chapter comes in, he's still alive for now.
Nemesis kills Caps in the mid lane in a 1v1. Wonder flashes away! Wimbo chases him down!
Oh, Nemesis! He just solo killed Caps!
Anyone would be hard-pressed to say they're not going to win because he's going to pull him back to the effort.
He's dead!
There we go, guillotine! And now the flank is on, the realm will come down.
Oh,
We're back with the pillar!
Upset still standing, the healing massive. Upset for now. Upset! He wants to finish, but Perks says not today. No! Upset! The shutdown!
Can Larson stop them? Flash! Charm! Wide! Humanoid misses the abscond as well, but Humanoid dives onto Trymbi. That's one! He's looking to make it three. Can he make the outplay to win the game? That's two! Humanoid! You absolute monster!
Razork all of a sudden re-engaged. Limit throws down the quickness. Razork says 50 seconds lower, but Noah is untouched. Noah is destroying. As of this moment, Fnatic stands at 9,952 kills. There are 48 kills left to be had. Let's see who will fall as their 10,000th opponent. Maybe this weekend.
48 kills. Surely it can be done during the weekend. I bet. Maybe not today. That's a lot of blood in it.
They're right there.
They're right there.
I don't know if it goes 3 games. I could see a world.
All right. Well, before we move on, I have some questions for you guys. Reckless, maybe you can help us here. How many kills has Reckless contributed to for Fnatic's 10K?
You want to guess first, or should I?
Do you know?
You say
there's
first.
no way.
I don't know for sure, but I think it's roughly 2,000. A little bit less, maybe. Let's say 1.9 or 1.8.
Again?
I feel like you've hit 2K.
Yeah, but I played with elements.
Oh,
as
right.
well.
Okay. Fair play.
Right.
1750.
1750. Okay, it's between the two. 1,817 kills for you. That's a lot, actually. But if you
How many of that is pentakills, though? 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like that's really weighting it.
I think they have like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's crazy.
And who would be the second one? This one is going to be interesting.
I would guess Soas, I think.
And okay, say the player and how many. Let's try and have some guesses here.
Well, then I'm guessing it is Soaz.
It is not Soaz. It is not Soaz.
Okay.
It is a solo laner, though.
I mean,
It's-
I feel like Caps didn't play there long enough.
Okay, but we can stay on this lane.
Nemesis? No, he can't be.
No. I think when you think about
for Vivian,
legendary
for Vivian?
player, okay, when you think about legendary
It's
mid laners
XPK.
for Fnatic, it is XPK indeed. And how many?
I don't think he
guess.
has that many, actually. Wait, he has
He didn't. No,
3 years.
He definitely doesn't have 1,800, that's for sure.
He has 13 and 14 in LEC, and I guess
Yeah.
that's all you would count. So he has 2 years of LEC.
Guess it? Yeah, after we're
Maybe
going
600,
to order.
700.
He knows better than
600
me.
maybe.
703 kills. That was actually good. I mean, yeah, you spent a lot of time there, so of course you would have.
I've seen it all.
But you've seen it all. We'll see what we can see from the side of Fnatic today as they will face off against SK Gaming. And guys, here, I want us to talk about the bot lane, Trymbi and Noah. I feel like, as I said during the pre-show, we have a renaissance version of Fnatic with this bot lane.
100%. I think you have like two very different ways from getting here, because you have a guy like Trymbi that had been so good for so long, but over with Koi for the last almost half year just had not been hitting the mark with the rest of the team. There was definitely disconnect. The bot lane wasn't the powerhouse that it once was, and yet he comes in next to Noah and has just been lights out on stuff like the Thresh, on the range supports. Then you have Noah, whose debut was just undisputed, amazing. This guy's positioning on the edge in a team fight is just a thing of beauty to watch here.
And it's every game. Win or lose, it's every game bot lane domination from Fnatic. And I really think it takes so much pressure off of the other guys in the team who kind of had to carry in the early parts of this year. Oscar came in and right from the get-go had to carry. And now with Noah and Trymbi there, there's so much pressure off of his shoulders and he can kind of just have his rookie debut without all of this extra on top.
And I think it's going to be interesting and challenging when you're on the side of SK here, because when you look at them, the bot lane has been struggling the most. The wins they had were with Milio. All the 5 losses they had were without Milio. So I'm just wondering how much the patch is going to impact them, because I think we can see a similar effect on Fnatic with Trymbi. But how do you reflect on SK and the fact that they lost their groove since summer?
Well, I think bot lane has just been a little bit peculiar for them all around, because I feel like they haven't, like back in winter, they were performing really, really well. Like Exakick, like absolutely shocked me.
Maybe the
towards
best
the start
AD in
of
the
this
league,
year. Yeah, I mean, like that's just absolutely nuts to think about. And now, since then, it's like spring was okay, not great, kind of middling. Now Exakick, that's been a bit of a problem for SK on the bottom side of the map. So I'm sort of hoping that with sort of a meta shift on the bot side, they can try to reset themselves a little bit. Fnatic are going to be dealing with similar ways of trying to reset, but that duo lane has definitely been a shadow of its former self.
Yeah, and I think in SK, they can't really be that, because I feel like that team is all about them. He needs to carry his team, and when he is pushing his limits to the point as he was in the early weeks, then he's also kind of not leading his team to victory. It's more so it's throwing the games, kind of. And I would like to see Exakick just take more of a mantle for his team and really be that guy for his team, because I think without him, they're not the same team. He was the reason why they were good in the beginning.
I 100% agree. And I think especially going up against Fnatic's bot lane, that 2 versus 2 is the place to look for this match.
Well, we'll keep an eye on the bot lanes, of course, here. And we will see who will take the first step towards facing XL on Monday. It's time to find out with Vedius and Quickshot.
Thank you so much, Law and Reckless. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome to the caster desk. My name is Quickshot. I'm joined by Vedius. SK Gaming taking on Fnatic. Fnatic had side selection, and the army is here, and they are loud today.
That they are, Quickshot. We're in for a banger. We were surprised to see the first series go a quick 2-0.
Yep.
Let's see, as Fnatic are coming as the heavy favorites in this matchup, but so far this year, they haven't taken a game off SK, Trevor.
3-0 in favor of SK. I do think, however, those games, they're very interesting, not necessarily reflective of maybe the team's power, but hey, who knows? New patch, 2 weeks of training. I will tell you very quickly, just before we jump into draft, that Noah was the 3rd or 4th player for Fnatic to take a stage. And the army over here screamed so loudly, he actually jumped to get a little bit of a fright. Wasn't expecting it. And I think for this Phenom, Rookie of the Year, maybe, MVP of Summer, maybe, will he step up today and deliver? The pressure's on, the fans are here behind him.
Play-by-play saying a lot of bold statements.
Oh yes, having some fun.
I'm really excited. We're about ready for draft. Let's see what these teams have cooked up. We're jumping onto a new patch, so without further ado, let's get into it.
Very very quickly, Vedius, before we jump into draft with SK on the blue side, how many games did SK win in summer? Do you remember?
SK won 4 games.
And how many of those games had a champion that was not named Melio in the bottom lane?
None of them.
0, exactly. The reason I do bring that up, obviously a lot of changes on 13-13. We've already seen that pan out from our first game of the day. Rel in the bottom lane, Kai'Sa coming in, Zaya's back. I want to see what SK does. Fnatic with the team that chose red side, and straight out the gate, Rumble's gone, Ivan's gone. I think Rumble's going to be one of the busted picks this weekend.
Wow, this is some interesting. I wonder if SK made this adaptation based on the first series, or whether or not this is something that has been raining terror down in scrims. But with Ivan taken off the board, you have to wonder if Fnatic will look to remove Melio. Obviously, Yuumi and Zeri have moved away from the meta as it is right now, but Melio is still very powerful and very present across the globe. Varus being taken away from Exakick.
And you mentioned that Rumble, you mentioned maybe the adaptation. When I looked at Oscarinin's history domestically, and obviously ERL's, 0 games of Rumble all time. And he's got over 220 games played, at regional levels. So in terms of Oscarinin's performance or expectations, obviously you got to adapt to the patch. The last player there will be the LeBlanc from SK, and finally Rel. So a lot of those like quote-unquote OP. So Melio, do you think is his first pick worthy?
I think the SK have to make a debate right now. They probably expected Melio to be banned, which means that there was a jungle priority pick that they likely wanted to get for themselves. But now that Melio is open, the debate comes through. Do they want to secure the Melio for themselves right now, just lock that one in? Or will they stick with the plan that they already had coming into this game? Right now, these are just a couple hovers, but the Kai'Sa will be locked in, so the plan will be secured. The question is, how does Fnatic respond? Is this something that they want to try and... I mean, things like Xayah Rakan are, of course, still up and available. If they want to get themselves the Melio, I think it makes a lot of sense. We've been seeing a lot more dive with Kai'Sa joining the meta recently. We already saw things like the Nocturne, the Rumble, the Rel, obviously with the Rel banned away. Still, a lot of good champions that compare up with this.
And for the 3rd game in a row today on 13-13, Kai'Sa first pick. First picked in every single game. XL, Mad, and SK have all gone high priority. Immediate reply. Fnatic going with Poppy as well as the Azir. Got some of those options later. I think also not a terrible thing when you look at SK in their early game. Maybe not.
Sorry, I'm just thinking back to 2022. Do you remember when it was Poppy Trundle for Razork and then Humanoid Azir?
I do
Azir
indeed.
Victor. I was just looking at the draft. I was like, oh, are we at Worlds 2022 all over again?
Listen, we're going blast from the past. I mean, once upon a time, Fnatic and SK used to be the 2 best teams in Europe. You have to go back a decade, of course.
A decade, yeah.
We'll bring some of those numbers up in a second.
Back when you were young and cool, right?
Young? Yes. Cool? Never. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. Maokai, Tristana, and Jax. A much more intense pace than we're seeing from the first series of the day. But I'm very excited to see Oscarinin on that Jax as well.
So, I mean, SK going for the double AD carry comp. The analyst desk talked about it at the beginning of the day. Tristana does give you a lot of push and can also match the amount of pressure that Azir can get in the mid lane. The siege that SK do have is also incredibly threatening. While champions like Kai'Sa are relatively short range, Tristana can easily compensate for that, especially when you take into consideration the amount of poke that Kai'Sa can bring alongside the zone control that a Maokai ultimate does have. This does basically mean that SK have really strong scaling later on into the game, and they also have a lot of options when it comes to playing around neutral objectives. That's assuming, though, that there is no threat and access onto the back line. And the great thing about Poppy and Jax is they can create that chaos. Poppy's ultimate is fantastic at removing the front line from, well, the front line, and Jax can find creative flanks and can be a huge threat onto the back line as well. And Oscarinin has overall had a fantastic split. Obviously, it has been his best of the year. That's not much to compare it to, because when he started, it was not a strong performance, but I think that you can trust him on champions like the Jax to be a carry threat. But no bot lane locked in for Fnatic, so SK continue to target that with the Rakan banned away.
The question I want to see is whether or not SK will be able to survive the early game. I think Fnatic have shown a penchant, a willingness to be in your face, to look for the skills, a lot of the time led by Razork. Obviously going to be on that Poppy this time around. A couple of options to deal with, but let's see what that bottom lane is going to turn out to for Noah and Trymbi. The last 2 bans going to be the Renekton, as well as the Nautilus, removing the Rakan to boot.
I wonder if Gragas is still considered something strong that SK could consider going for, something that we used to see a lot into Jax as sort of an answer. Many would even argue that it's a counter into the Jax matchup. Melio actually banned away here from SK, so something that this is the only champion that they've won with.
Yes.
They split in the support position. And now they've chosen to ban it away. The Zeri locked in for Noah. I was told this champ was gone, okay? I was told that she was banned, kaput, no more. I've been lied to.
How many games of Zeri has Noah played? 15. He's won 80% of them. 12 games played, 12 wins rather. And we're going to find out how kaput is Zeri and what will Trymbi be running in support, because Irrelevant's going to run the Gnar into the Jax instead of that Gragas you were just theory crafting about. And for DOS, looking for his first win of summer
Alistar.
on a champion not named Milio.
I'm surprised that they would go for the Alistar into the Poppy. The Trundle hover here.
Oh, maybe they should bring out the Yumi and just really like
You know,
mess with
I
everyone.
genuinely thought that that's what they were going to do.
Mess with everybody.
I'm going to wait and see. Fnatic are cooking something up. They've got a pretty solid front to back right now. Oh, Braum into Alistar, I think is a great pick. Very powerful
And double
disengage
AD.
tool. Yeah. So the engage from Fnatic isn't the strongest. They do have a lot of range at their disposal though. Azir, Zeri, whenever you play those traditional front to back comps, these two champions just have so much range to take advantage of when playing around these neutrals. They just have a lot of passive poke at their disposal. And they have a lot of disengage tools, especially when you look at Zeri's mobility, Azir's mobility, along with the wall. You also have Poppy's ultimate, you have Braum shield.
Yeah.
Like, Fnatic are very weird, pacifist run through, you know?
Disengage
Yeah.
tools, that's it.
And so when we think about Fnatic, a team that typically likes to play more through the early game, even if they do draft scaling, we often see Razork playing around where he has prio and trying to be active on the map. This is a composition that's going to be hard to do, and I think that when we saw SK beat them in the final game of the regular season, this is how they did it. They had a more scaling composition. It came down to the fights later on into the game, and SK were able to find better 5v5s against Fnatic. So I think that SK have been able to get themselves a draft that at least give them the best chance based on what we've seen from these two teams so far in the regular season.
Will SK make it 4-0? Please ignore the ghost of Exile versus Mad that was floating on stage. We are aware of that. The fans here in Berlin are heavily in favor of Fnatic. It is an orange army. Let's find out if they can pick up their first win against SK. Taking a look. Do you understand them?
Fa la 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 la.
I think that was a Fnatic.
Oh, they're saying,
what it is?
oh, Fnatic.
Do you know what it is?
Fa la
They
la
literally
la
were
la.
inspired by XL's win and tried to do it better. It needs work, guys. It needs work. I'm not going to lie. Right now, though, teams are setting up a little bit of an invader as Trymbi and Humanoid will just step into the jungle to place a ward. I do want to take a brief moment just to remind everybody of what we were talking about before picks and bans, is that SK and Fnatic have played each other a lot over the years. SK picked up 17 wins to Fnatic's 30. Back in the day, this was a Spring Split final in 2013, but importantly
guys,
for me,
before I was a
3-0.
caster,
That's it.
used to call it DL Classico.
The L-Class, and it actually came from their Counter-Strike history as well, because the two organizations have gone back and forth multiple games. Call of Duty,
also,
Counter-Strike, and obviously League.
I mean, in League, it was always the it was Exakick versus Ocelot back
Yes.
in the day as well, like a lot of very old school names. But yeah, this year, as you highlighted, it has been very SK favored. We've had 3 splits, and we have had 3 wins in the best of ones in favor of SK. Now, Fnatic obviously come into this matchup as the heavy favorites. The expectations are that Fnatic sits alongside G2 at the top of the table, and with this break, the expectations are that they've been able to fix whatever issues they had, and that they should be able to come in and demolish SK. But SK is a team that I often think recognize their weaknesses well, and they find good ways in the draft to adapt. And I think that the draft that they've gotten for themselves in isolation is a good draft for them. It gives them options. I just question if, when you look at what Fnatic have, if it's actually going to work out the way that they want. The amount of disengage that they have to keep SK at arm's length, the amount of dive threat, I think it's going to be very difficult for Exakick to actually play this game when you look at the sheer range discrepancy. And I think Alistar into things like Braum, Azir, Poppy, it's just, it's going to be a very difficult time for Boss. So the pressure's going to be on for SK for sure. this exact invade, Razork did the last time that they met, by the way. Razork died the first time that they did it. This time
he's
around,
learned.
though, he's going to respect the potential collapse coming out from SK, and he's going to move into the bot side jungle. He has push from his bot lane, so he's feeling confident to invade. Markoon reads the play. Let's see what happens.
I mean, all three of his lanes are pushing for the time being. We saw Oscarinin there pushing irrelevant back. Razork is going to find Markoon in his own jungle. And I think something you and I were talking about, and Vedius, you were highlighting, is just how Razork has been very adaptable this summer. Razork, arguably the best jungler of the summer regular season.
I think he has been.
And just the synergy and the changes that this team has made coming in, I would like to see if he can find that same success, because while we don't have any skirmishes set up just yet, I would like to take a look at some of his stats in a moment. As you can see on your screen, GD of 14 plus 700. K plus A is the big one for me. 3.4 kills plus assists at 40 minutes across the regular season games is phenomenal for getting his team ahead and leading the charge.
Certainly is. Sertuss, though, goes for an aggressive trade in mid. But yeah, Razork is a key part of what makes Fnatic early game one of the strongest in the league. Razork is performing with a lot more freedom compared to what we saw him in the past. This roster just seems to give him the space and trust that he's needed in order to thrive, and it's great to see for the young player. A lot of fans kept asking for him to be benched. This was the player that said, why are they keeping Razork? This should not be the player they've kept. The organization believed in him, and right now he is returning that trust. Of course, still a long way to go, as the group stage has only just begun. But this Fnatic roster has surprised many with their success so far in Summer. But so far in this early game, it's been a tepid one.
It has. And the thing is, I didn't actually expect it coming in, but when you see the draft, I'm not surprised, right? Fnatic have been an aggressive team. They obviously have been led by Razork. We're talking about it. They've done a lot of dives as well and look pretty good at it. Playing around, a lot around Noah and Trymbi as well. But with the very reactive comp and the fact you got double ADs from SK, I'm not surprised to see him. When you look at the CS numbers, barring a minor advantage in the top lane for Oscarinin, there's nothing really to speak of for the time being. So waiting to see the next. Because Dragon is up. We've got Herald in a few minutes' time. And whether or not one of the teams will try and make a play for those objectives might be the first...
Credit to Razork, something that he does a lot is he just moves into the enemy jungle. My criticism of him in week 3 specifically was he kept overforcing plays in the enemy jungle, and sometimes he could get himself in danger. But right now he's just using it as an opportunity to gain information, find out where the enemy jungler is. He keeps pinging out Markoon. He spotted him early on the walls. He spotted him again right now on the Braum. Basically, he does a full clear topside, and then he moves into the enemy jungle. And he's just there to get a bit of information. You can see that small ward highlighted around the Braum. And that's basically all he's doing. Just share information. This gives Fnatic the window in the bot lane, specifically, thank you, observers, to actually go back to base as Oscarinin continues to trade in top lane.
I think Oscarinin is doing a great job in that top lane. Almost every time that Deep Strike is up, jumping forward, he's now ballooned that CS advantage to 20 by 6 minutes, which is significant. And the Markoon will be able to make his way forward, steps over the ward, so at least Oscar's aware of it. Starts to back away, and we're seeing their pings from Razork onto the Dragon. Problem is, bottom wave is currently under tower, so maybe wait for that to bounce back, or take advantage of the back timers. So, well played. This should be an uncontested objective for Fnatic.
Well played. So far, it's just a simple cross map, as you highlighted. And we're off to a standard start. A bit of a cooldown from what I would argue is the clown fiesta of last game, where both teams were throwing back and forth.
You're allowed to say it, I'm not.
Well, because I'm an analyst, I'm trained to identify
It was entertaining to
fiestas.
watch. Humanoid easily escapes conquering shifting sands. I mean, look, dead even, Dragon number 1 secured. Okay, Rift Herald, do you reckon it's even contestable?
Well, I mean, that's interesting, because you have to ask, okay, what items are you going to be able to complete before the Herald spawns, which is in a minute's time? You look across the board, and no one's really close to completing anything, which means that who, at this point in time, would be stronger? I would argue that Tristana Maokai, Humanoid, chose not to use the ultimate. I wonder if he ran out of mana, or if he just didn't want to gamble it. Regardless, I just think that Tristana at this point in the game and Maokai are scary, not worth fighting. So Fnatic may choose to concede it, but it very much depends on the map set. You see this massive wave stacking up bot. This could be an opportunity for SK. So Markoon is escorting the wave in right now. Exakick is level 6. This could be a window for SK to actually roam top. And They're actually going to commit to the plate here. They care more about getting that objective. The pings are coming down onto the Herald. You see Razork already on the top side of the map. Curious what they're actually going to do here.
Maybe afraid that if they committed to the bottom tower, they concede Herald. Maybe that's the play here.
Well, DOS has actually now used this window to roam up towards the top side of the map. I guess they wanted to make sure that Exakick had access to the next wave collapsing in. Humanoid is the point of attack here. Nice
Flashes
flash.
away, nicely done, good reaction. That does mean he's on the back foot. And again, numbers advantage here. SK starting this one off. I think you were right on the call. Maybe a Fnatic not willing to contest us. Obviously, they'll push back as well.
The thing here is Oscarinin was able to get a base off. He's now TP'd back into lane with a purchase. The Herald is being started off. Trymbi is doing his best to collapse here. It looks like they want to fight this. Razork has the ult too.
Look at the combat gold as well in terms of what they've spent. It's Fnatic with nearly a 3,000 effective gold combat in the advantage. The problem is they can't get into the faces of SK. That Nature's Grasp was huge. It thwarted it. So even though they had the back timing, even though they had the itemization, SK's positioning and timing ends up winning the objective.
Well, the crucial play there was the forcing of the flash on Humanoid. The fact that he was forced to go back to base meant that they didn't really have any other way of accessing the river outside of top lane, and Markoon's ultimate is just such an effective deterrent that it became difficult for Fnatic to actually gain access to the Herald. So, well played overall by SK. They were able to trade the Herald for the first dragon. Now they can use this to funnel more gold into Sertuss or to the bot side of the map. I think that they shouldn't use it top. Right now, Irrelevant is struggling in the isolated 1v1. His role and responsibility this game is to be a team fighter and to try and just keep Oscarinin in check in the side lanes.
I mean, when you look at the CS numbers, right, 12 or 14 or so in the top lane in favor of Fnatic. 10 or so in the mid lane, favor of Fnatic. It was 10 or so a moment ago, favor of Fnatic till this wave was just caught. Noah has picked up his static ship already. So the laning phase, marginally in favor, but the Rift Herald, the potential gold, can be good for them. And we're cresting the 10-minute mark. 2 minutes to go until the next dragon is up. I'm just going to get a semi-decent trade here back against Oscar. But it won't really mean a significant amount. And my eyes immediately start looking a little further forward. We know Fnatic have got a good like disengage or like counter-punch option. But what do you reckon scaling-wise? Because both sides scale in different ways, but they're equally scary late game, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, they are.
I think easier to execute is probably on the Fnatic side.
Well,
yeah, well.
I think it's fair to say that both comps want to do very similar things. And when you have two comps that are similar in nature, you then kind of have to look at the variables like top lane. So, for example, Irrelevant, if he's in Mega Gnar, it's going to be a stronger teamfight threat than someone like a Jax will be. But that's only dependent on whether or not Irrelevant can actually be in Mega Gnar and then actually do something with the Mega Gnar ultimate, which is hard when there's so much disengage on the side of Fnatic. There's also the other factor of, okay, sure, when you kind of look at it in isolation, Mega Gnar offers more in a teamfight, but that's assuming that the Jax isn't able to get onto a backline. If Jax finds a flank and then has the counter-strike and is just sitting on top of your Kai'Sa, then your Kai'Sa isn't doing anything in the fight, then that means that your front line is going to die faster than Fnatic's is. Oscarinin.
Oh, solo kill available for Irrelevant! Flash for flash! Hyper! First blood to the player that's been bullied all game long.
And you have to question the all-in there from Oscarinin. He didn't have the HP to make that trade happen. I guess he wanted to try and catch Irrelevant off as the Mega Gnar transition into the mini. Thought he'd have enough burst to be able to find the kill. But what was a very favorable lane for Fnatic has now swung in the favor of Irrelevant, and credit to him. We talk about strong performing individuals on Fnatic's side, but nice use of the ultimate there from Razork. But Irrelevant has also had a great split.
Well, Noah fences himself. A solo kill in reply. Exakick forced to dash away to safety. Flashing to boot. Noah committed only the ghost. Now the engage forward. Markoon throws out Nature's Grasp. Razork is flashed away with his life. Humanoid Emperor's Divide. And the Sand Soldiers poking and prodding, but not finding the kill. So Razork escapes, and so does Exakick.
So a couple summoners traded back and forth. Sertuss flash committed to try and get the execute onto Razork, but wasn't quite able to find it thanks to a good ultimate from Humanoid. But SK making waves across the map. Exakick, unfortunately for him, overextends in the bot lane. Irrelevant now with another great trade.
That's a hard leap forward.
He can dive this.
Irrelevant fancied it, didn't have the flash, didn't have vision either, but the kill was potentially there.
I mean, the damage has been done. He gets him away from the tower, so he gets himself more plates. Even if he can't find himself a kill, overall the trade was more beneficial for Irrelevant. And the longer Oscarinin stays here, the more opportunities that SK will find themselves. The Dragon being a primary one. So SK will secure that objective. And again, when we look back at the last time SK and Fnatic played against each other, when you have a slower early game, this is how SK prefer to play the game, right? Their early game has never been the strongest. It's something that many teams have been able to take advantage of. But when you choose to slow the game down, allow your laners to just farm up and keep this more neutral state, SK then get given windows to actually get into the team fights, and I think that that is what gives them the best opportunity of actually walking away as the victors in a game.
I mean, they got 1,000 gold up, the kill to the name, they've evened out the dragons, and now we're playing for Ocean Soul, and SK are going to feel very happy with this. A double AD comp that has been able to take all the time needed during the laning phase. Itemization continues to balloon upwards, like first pickups for most. Irrelevant's just a little bit behind that Divine Sundra. But I think the top lane matchup swinging so heavily has been fun one to watch. Oscar building, what, 20 CS advantage early? Now he's down 13 and conceded the solo kill. But now he has the power advantage, at least he had temporarily until Trinity Force was just picked up.
Yep. All right, so I mean, the next objective we're looking at is a Herald. This one, Fnatic should feel a lot more empowered to fight. Ideally, they want Humanoid to actually go back to base and spend some of that gold. I imagine that he's not far off an item. See, is he going to look to go back to base now? The problem is, the longer that this takes, the harder it is to contest. Looks like he's actually going to rotate down towards bot side. Does he have... I can't remember if he has teleport or not. He does not. So, there's no real way for him to contest this objective. Yeah, okay, so Fnatic is saying we concede. You can have it. We're good. And the lane assignments, I think, are pretty good right now for SK. You've got Irrelevant bot lane with his TP up. Threatening to die from Fnatic, though. But Irrelevant should be fine, I think.
Using that Hex Flash over, yeah. Irrelevant was able to hop over if needed.
Now you've got Sertuss, who's one of your primary wave clears top lane. You've got your bot lane hovering around mid with DOS roaming around the map. And you look at this vision, observe this, if you could just kind of highlight what SK see on the map right now, like... They have so much control over the top side that they've just allowed Irrelevant to be the weak side. He knows he has TP, he's perfectly safe down here, and it converts into another objective. So huge props to SK. Good lane assignments, good objective control. Fnatic will cross-map on the bot side, doing the appropriate response. And Fnatic fans may be concerned, like, hang on, what is Fnatic doing? And their approach is very much, we know we scale. Fnatic's clear idea is, we believe that we're going to be stronger late game. So we're not going to take the gambles now. We're just going to wait until we fight later.
Think about how hard it's going to be for SK to accelerate this lead. Yes, they are minorly ahead, but this game is still on a knife's edge. When Maokai, not Alistar go forward, they've got to get through Poppy, Azir, Braum. And then if all of that happens, there's mobility on the Azir and the Zeri. So it's a very difficult sort of team fight if they're going to play it front to back. Irrelevant, this time around, the recipient of love and attention from Fnatic, they're not going to commit to, I think, in the darkness. Oh, Blue Trinket will just spot him out. This time around, Irrelevant is being punished. Hops over the head of Razork. Continues to run for his life. And Noah flashes for the first kill for Fnatic. For a moment, I thought Fnatic did sniff it out, but they found him and took him down.
I debate how worth that is for Fnatic. Yes, you do get a kill onto Noah, but you also committed both your summoner spells, which means that that is now a flashless and ghostless Zeri, with the dragon spawning in about a minute and a half.
I call worth, damn it!
Fnatic could just choose to concede that objective. You know, they don't have to fight for the next Drake. If their logic is we want to continue to play it safe and scale, I think that's also perfectly reasonable.
Vedi, I need 47 more of those so we can get 10,000 kills today.
47.
No one's going to be the target. 3 members down, hops over the wall, but the killer instinct is golden.
Do you remember what I said earlier about no flash, no ghost?
I humbly apologize to you. However, I don't think the flash would have helped necessarily the hugest amount in that environment.
I mean, perhaps. But a really great collapse once again from SK.
SK are on it. They're playing this well.
They're finding good picks. It's very reminiscent of what we saw last time. SK were further ahead at this point in the game. Fnatic then came back through a couple of good team fights. And then SK kind of got to a point where they outscaled. And then there was the Baron incident.
Can you humor me for a second?
Yeah, I love humoring.
We've got some time, right? And the fact that Exakick just took down Noah, the star of summer for Fnatic. That's how it went. That's how it happened. Okay. I did want to just take a look at some of their stats because it's quite interesting when you look at the damage share for the respective teams, and then obviously damage per minute, etc. But more importantly for me, when you look at Exakick's laning during the regular season, 10th place, -559. And bearing in mind they won 4 games, right? This time around it was dead even. This time around balanced it out. And right now, SK are in a comfortable position, still maintaining the lead. And we have to see who's going to be able to accelerate this further, because it will come down to late game team fights and those late game skirmishes around objectives.
I just think it's interesting that you have a contrast of Exakick, who is the hot stuff coming in at the beginning of the year, a hot commodity that I think many teams were interested in and decided to land on SK to be alongside DOS, the bot side. Whereas Noah, the newest recent addition, kind of looking for his opportunity, gets a contrast in the best of 3s. And this is going to be a big defining moment. Third dragon of the game, irrelevant on the flank.
Teleport for Oscar is available. Gnar into the wall, only connects on one. Humanoid flashed away to safety. Nature's Grasp is preventing further engage. Kai'Sa lands the W and Oscar's in. It's a 4v5. The dragon is low. Markoon's over and out. 5 members of SK still standing toe-to-toe. Oscar hopping over the ward, and the dragon has now been pulled out. It's SK that have tagged it 20 seconds before Razork is up. It's SK in control. It's SK with the objective, and Noah nearly sniped that away. Dragon number 2, 2,000 gold up, 3 towers to 1. This is all SK for 20 minutes, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic are getting kind of sloppy now.
Yeah.
And SK are quick to punish them. I mean, and SK just, they're playing it patient. They play around their vision well. They know where they have the prio in their lanes. They're not trying to overforce anything. And Fnatic, they kind of sacrifice the push in mids to be on the objective first. But the problem was, you've got Poppy who's isolated here. You look at the minimap, Zeri's nowhere near. Oscarinin hasn't begun TPing in. And Irrelevant finds a fantastic flank, forces the flash out from Humanoid. But then the jungler just gets isolated and caught off guard. The setup is just so much easier for SK. And they're able to punish Fnatic very, very well. Fnatic then realize, hey, if we can kill Markoon, this is still a winnable fight. He flashes over the wall to safety, though, which means that easy objective secured for SK. So game 1 in this best of 3, SK looking good.
And I think when you look at all the potential disengage tools, Fnatic were just not together, not set up in time. SK pulled the trigger so quickly that Emperor's Divide was useless. Oscar wasn't even there. Razork was soloed out by the Nature's Grasp. So all of those potential defensive tools, they need to be layered, they need to be around together. Otherwise, Markoon's R is just so huge at creating space. And Fnatic don't have an answer. 20 minutes on the clock.
Oh,
SK
20-minute force.
This is bold. This is bold, Cotton. Fnatic are aware. They're moving forward. Oscar's coming from the mid lane. Razork's Poppy Copter's a whiff. This is Baron. 2,000 hit points. It's SK. They've taken it. They've taken it. That was close. I held my breath. They snuck it completely under Fnatic's nose.
Coming into this game, one of the notes I sent you was we have to be mindful of the Fnatic 20-minute Baron. They keep using Baron as a tool to force fights around the mid-game. I was not expecting SK to be the team that would just rush the Baron at 20 minutes. Double AD carry will naturally melt through that, but the way in which they use the Maokai ultimate, along with just the disengage that they have to keep Fnatic at arm's length to secure that objective, very well done by SK, a very confident and cleanly executed Baron.
Contextually, when we watch this early game, because Fnatic have been the team that have been more proactive, have been stronger early, understand, like, Razork's reading Markoon well, responding, he's like reacting well. But as this game has played out, SK have had such a great read on the map. We've seen cross maps consistently working out. We've seen the Rift Heralds going their way. And that Baron was just beautiful. Gives them the 4,000 gold lead now.
You look at their lane assignments once again. They've kept the Gnar in mids. They've abandoned top and they're committing to bot. The advantage of this is Gnar will now push in through mid lane and they can start setting up vision around the bot side jungle, which then gives them the ability to start contesting that tier 2 in the bot lane, knowing that the Azir won't be able to threaten the tier 2 himself. Just very simple, very straightforward macro. SK are not overcomplicating it. And the Maokai ultimate can now be used as well to zone away Fnatic from this objective to make sure that they can secure it.
I have decided after watching 20 minutes of this game, I don't care about Fnatic's disengage, I only care about Maokai's ultimate. That's what I have now decided. All of a sudden, Irrelevant will find himself right on top of Humanoid. Sand Soldier's doing work, and Irrelevant finds his second kill of the game. The player who was bullied early on, now dominating that side lane. 1,500 gold up.
Such a good solo kill from Irrelevant, using his ultimate at the same time in order to be given that immunity. Markoon using the zoning ultimate again, just the execution is great. The fact that they had Irrelevant, he pushed in mid, Fnatic overstacked on bot to try and hold that tower, which then gives the window for Irrelevant to move top, find himself a solo kill. and then they secure the bot tower as well. 5k gold lead for SK, well earned, very clean gameplay overall.
I'll tell you that there is a fan in the audience that has a sign that says Razork meow for me. Not going to be happening this game because of the Maokai. I'm very sorry. Because 0-1-1 Razork's keepers verdicts have not found their targets. Frankly though, Fnatic haven't had a chance. I think SK are quicker to the objectives. They pull the trigger decisively.
Well, it's like, I mean, I would argue that Fnatic's setup around the objectives has just been not the strongest this game. They cross-mapped the first dragon that they got, but the Heralds and the following 2 dragons, SK's setups have just been better. Their lane assignments have been better, and props to SK. The way in which SK will lose this game is a poor team fight. The next dragon spawns in about 30 seconds. Now Fnatic have actually grouped up as 5. It is SK that have control over the river for now.
Look at Markoon. Nature's Grasp is 8 seconds away. 7 seconds away. Irrelevance Mega Gnar will start to wind down.
Well, look at Exakick. He's the awkward one here. He can't really join his team unless he can come in with the ultimate from his current position.
Mega Gnar's going to time, so if Fnatic can wait for that to go down, they're only going to deal with Nature's Grasp. 3 seconds for the next dragon. It's the third for SK, not the soul yet. Maybe not worth fighting for, especially as Exakick is putting out a lot of poke damage. Dragon focused as DOS a little bit cut away. Razork's keeper's verdict is easily dodged. Nature's Grasp locks up 3, and DOS has done enough work to prevent it. Exa engages with the ulti, will not find himself the kill, but Sertuss blocked off by the Unbreakable. Fnatic on full retreat, the objective secured and nobody dies.
Wow, okay, so again, SK, they just play it patiently. They use the poke from Exakick and Irrelevant to zone Fnatic away, but it comes back to the point that we said at the beginning of the draft. Being first on the objective is really important for Fnatic because their whole comp is reliant on the enemy coming into them and then they disengage, and then once they've created space, they can re-engage after chipping away at the front line. If SK is the first on the objective, how do you ever get into the fight, right? It's impossible. Like, they have the zoning ultimate from Markoon, they have Irrelevant and Exakick doing exactly what they just did with their poke, and while DOS on Alistar, typically used as an engage tool, he can just punt people away and tank up the damage and then regroup with his team. So, as much as we complimented Fnatic's composition for having a lot of disengage tools, SK are the same thing. And again, we talked about how both compositions are similar in terms of their execution. The problem that Fnatic find themselves in now is that SK just had the stronger early game, so they get to wave their wallets around.
I mean, 5,000 gold. They're a minute away from the next Baron. They picked up that 20-minute Baron, which is crazy. And just a reminder of like how important this series is going to be. Because when we take a look at the championship points, it's SK that are sitting at double the championship points of Fnatic. SK on 120, Fnatic are on 60. Unfortunately, my graphic is not animating, so I'll get that up for you a little bit later. And for SK, they're in a great position. They do need to win 2 of the 3 games, obviously. But with the comp, with the way they're playing it, and frankly, how they won in week 3 of Summer, very reminiscent. Remember, SK 3-0 up over Fnatic all year long. This might be 4.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, it's just a coincidence, right? Just a coincidence. But if they make it 4, you then have to be like, okay, at what point is it just SK or the kryptonite of this Fnatic? We'll see. I still believe...
Okay, so how do Fnatic actually play around this? You mentioned already, be first to the objective.
They have to be first to the objective.
So it's literally then, we need to look at vision, we need to look at lanes.
Well, I mean, lanes are the most important one, because you look at top right now, and look at Sertuss, just pushing in that top tower, chipping away at it. Oscarinin goes to match, but then what's happening? Look at bot lane. Yep, thank you, observers. Irrelevant already there, pushing in that wave. And so SK have a pseudo sort of split push comp, not in the sense that their champions want to split push, but more that it's just so easy for them to clear out those waves, push in, and then Fnatic is forced to send Oscarinin to catch so they can keep Humanoid group with the rest of the team.
And he's down 2,000 gold. Fnatic at 26 minutes, maybe pulling a bit of a desperation play. The engage comes out from DOS, the 2-man knockup. Trymbi is low. Keeper's verdict this time gets rid of Exakick. Humanoid sends the sand soldiers forward and won't find a target. While that's going on, Irrelevant, a 2-level lead, a 2,000 gold advantage, and he's looking for another solo kill. Will not hit him with the boulder, and Oscar's able to run for his life.
Props to Irrelevant. He's having a fantastic game. The ultimate will not connect from Humanoid as Markoon flashes away, but SK, the option for Baron is now very much a real possibility.
No ultimate for Razork, for Humanoid, for Trymbi. It is a 4-on-3 for now, but look at the minimap. DOS is making his way in. Oscar 2, no Mega Gnar available. Teleport forward here for Oski, so they don't get the objective, but they do get the TP.
So Fnatic is now forced into actually starting this Baron.
Oh, starting to go low. Killer Instinct available for Exakick. Exakick can jump in. Humanoid's got flash. W from Razork gonna try mitigate that engaged.
So now SK go back to the fantastic.
Oh, that's Humanoid taken out. Exa jumps in and makes it rain. Trymbi's moment to flash for his life. The Baron is still being aggroed and taken down by Markoon, and
exquisite.
Gift wrapped and beautifully played.
That was exquisitely played by SK. 10 out of 10, full marks. That was fantastic. The way in which they forced Oscarinin into TP, Fnatic then responded in kind, realizing if we go back to a neutral state, we're screwed. So they're forced to start this Baron. So SK then just continue to leverage their poke. The Kai'Sa W doing so much work, irrelevant on the flank, and they're just waiting for the chip damage to come through before then committing to the kill. Exakick gets that execution onto Humanoid. They force Fnatic out. Sertuss and Markoon can do the Baron. Full marks. Incredible play.
SK Gaming have got such a great read on this game, on this composition, on this approach, and they're playing it very patient. It's only been 5 kills, but look at that growth from down 700 to up 8,000 by the 28-minute mark.
It's very clean, simple League of Legends. You know, SK are not overcomplicating it.
Keep it simple, SK.
I'm just super impressed. Like, a lot of the credit needs to go to Irrelevant for finding those kills in a side lane. Of course, he has been having a fantastic game 1 here. Fnatic now first to the objective, but here comes the TP.
Mega Gnar. Irrelevant's got no flash, but Fnatic goes on the piece. Gone! It's gone. Keeper's verdict is good, but the Dragon is secure this time from Fnatic. They prevented the soul. Can they get away with their life? The headbutt does still land. Oscar's tagged, and Captain Rain comes down. The Glacial Fissure buys time. Buster Shot won't find a target. Fnatic so far being able to escape with their lives, but look at the differences here. 2 levels up in the solo lanes respectively, and bot lane. Everyone's got a lead here for SK, but they don't have the soul, but they are going to lose their inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, I mean, SK did enough damage that they can convert this into an objective. Sertuss continues his siege on the bot side. The mid tower has gone down as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see SK choose to reset here. They're probably sitting on a decent amount of money. Or at the very least, it's a little dangerous to overstay your welcome. They're just going to take away the jungle instead, push out this top wave, make sure that everything is pushed in. This is a little risky. It's not the... they do have bot pushing and top pushing, so I think they just want to divide Fnatic's resources as much as possible. Yeah, look at Sertuss in the bot lane. Here's the engage.
Engage, the slide, the glide, the Emperor's divided. It's a golden hourglass for Markoon. He will be taken down eventually, but it does give enough time for Sertuss to take the inhibitor in the bottom lane. A little bit bold, but they do still get the objective.
So this is why I was talking about the potential risks. It was a window for Fnatic to force a fight. They've just reset. They've spent as much money as they can, and they should feel confident to actually start a fight there. But as you already said, the bot inhibitor dropped, but from Fnatic's perspective, they were like, that inhibitor was going to drop regardless. It doesn't matter. We can at least get some gold back. But yeah, SK, nothing but compliments can be given to them this game. They've made little to no mistakes. They have executed, and their lane assignments have been great. The way that they've played around these neutral objectives has been fantastic. And the first thing we talked about was this is the composition that gave, or this style of play is what allowed SK to beat Fnatic the last time that they played. So it surprises me to see Fnatic not try and take advantage of more of an early game approach. And huge props to SK. They're looking good. Let's see if they can maintain that form. Right now, they are the favorites to win this game based on this position. But a Dragon spawning in about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Baron, 2.5 minutes. SK may just choose to wait for those neutrals if they do want to play it as slow and safely as possible.
I mean, 10,000 gold lead, nearly. You can see the gigantic item disparities. 3,000 gold lead in that top lane. Humanoid will this time find Emperor's Divide onto DOS, but the damage applied from Sertuss is huge. DOS able to flash away for now. Sertuss buying time thanks to stopwatch Exakick, looking for the assassination. He finds one, looking for the second through the exhaust. With the help of Irrelevant, they do it. That's only 1 down for 3 so far. Mega Gnar into the wall once more, and Fnatic are wrecked in their jungle. SK pour into the base, and they will pick up game 1.
SK with an ace onto Fnatic, look dominant. Starting off this best of 3 series, nothing but impressive play. SK is here to dominate.
SK Gaming with a statement win to open the series and maintain the unbeaten streak. 4-0 on the year, 1-0 on the series. SK are 1 win away from facing XL in the upper bracket.
Defying expectations. We talked about how Fnatic should be heavy favorites coming into this best of 3. But wow, what a performance from SK. Fnatic now find themselves on the back foot here. An approach to the draft that definitely surprised us both. But SK, their execution, I think, was the biggest surprise. They really did play near flawlessly pretty much throughout this entire game.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because Fnatic at side selection, they picked red. Coming out of the draft, the double ADs, the essence of how the comp was going to play, you alluded to it immediately. Week 3, that was how SK won. It just felt like they had a good read, good prep, good control, and they didn't get flustered. A few small mistakes here and there, but ultimately, they were in charge the entire time.
I mean, the biggest takeaway is that when you have two comps that want to do similar things, any team that gets that early game advantage can, you know, they kind of hold on to it. And I think SK did an incredible job. They didn't fall short in any team fights. They didn't overstate. They punished all the mistakes from Fnatic. Just incredible stuff from SK overall.
Well, will SK close it out 2-0? We'll find out after the break. When we come back, though, Analyst Desk will pick up game number 1.